Algeria is a unique country. The largest country in Africa, it reaches across the Sahara Desert to border Mali and Niger. Yet for more than 100 years, Algeria was officially French. Not merely a French colony, but part of France herself. This is its story, the story of Algiers, a changing capital, of the country's thousands of years of history, of its diversity, from the mountains to the snowfields to the Mediterranean beaches. The rural landscapes, the gentle plains of the Mitija and the rolling hills of Oran province, the city of Oran, the rocks of Constantine, the Orez Mountains, the vastness of the Sahara with its mirages, the desert miracle of Gardaya, the Grand Erg, the Ogar Highlands, and the Tassili Niger. And the city of Sefar, with its 15,000 cave paintings. So we begin our journey across Algeria, seen from above. You can take a plane to Algiers, but you really enter Algeria by sea. Algiers got its name from the Arabic for the islands, after the 4 islands that were once on the edge of the bay. Today, only one of them remains. The city is known as Algiers the White, from its dazzling whitewashed buildings. From the sea, you get an idea of the city's history. Algiers is a mix of imposing buildings that might be from a Paris boulevard. And higher up, the old Ottoman city, the traditional Kasbah. The two old cities vie for the best view of the bay. Algiers is built on the side of a steep hill. To explore it, you have to climb. A grand boulevard sweeps around the town and along the seafront. The arcaded buildings and the ramps leading down to the quay were constructed under Napoleon III. The main post office, built in 1910, is an Algiers landmark. If you can see it, you can work out where you are. It also handles money transfers sent by Algerians working abroad. 4 billion euros a year enters Algeria via its post offices, and another 7 billion comes informally, meaning as cash in everyone's pockets. The high density and the narrow winding streets at least make for togetherness. The former Great Synagogue, built in 1865, is now a mosque. But to this day, it is called the Jamal Lihud, the Jews' Mosque. It's in the former Rue Rondon, now called the Rue Ama Ali, after a militant who died in the War of Independence. The fashionable shopping street, Rue Labi Ben Midi, commemorates a guerrilla leader executed by French paratroopers who tried to make it look like suicide. All around are streets named after other revolutionary martyrs: Saeed Bakel, Ali Boumangel, Mohammed Sadoum, Ahmed Shahib. The names are like a roll call of ghosts. Walking beneath the balconies hung with washing, you overhear conversations and glimpse the daily life up above. Especially in the Casbah, the Algiers of the Ottomans, of the Barbary pirate Barbarossa, of the feasts of the sultans. Yet the Casbah is like a museum in ruins. Its houses are collapsing, one after another. The streets are narrow and full of nooks and crannies. They're so cramped that the garbage is sometimes collected by donkeys, just as it was 600 years ago. The people of the Casbah are a community apart, living among their own. The impenetrability of the Casbah makes it an ideal hideout for rebels and revolutionaries. It was the main venue for the showdown between guerrillas and French paratroops in 1957. After Algerian independence, it became a giant squat for migrants from the countryside. Overcrowding, maladministration, lack of water, poor hygiene, all made it a powder keg once again. In the 1990s, it became a stronghold for Islamist terrorists, who imposed a reign of terror. Today, calm has returned, and the Casbah can decay in peace. But the center of Algiers is no longer the main residential area. The city is spreading out into suburbs. With 4 million people, Algiers has become the biggest city in northwest Africa. Bordering the Casbah is the old French working-class district of Bab el-Oued. 65,000 people live in Bab el-Oued, squeezed together as best they can. In the early 1960s, the French population of Bab el-Oued mounted a last-ditch stand against Algerian independence. That too ended in a showdown with the French army. The satellite dishes provide live football coverage and foreign TV channels. During the civil war of the 1990s, the Islamists banned the dishes. It is said that some people resorted to putting up couscous cookers to try to get a signal. Whether that is true or not, the Islamist grip on Bab el-Oued has since been broken. There are some 8 million school-aged children in Algeria. Thousands of teachers are being hired. Schools and universities are being built. Boys and girls have almost equal access to education. The literacy rate is the highest in Northwest Africa. The average age is 28. The Science and Technology University in Bab el-Zoua, outside Algiers, has 35,000 students. Education is a major challenge for a country with so many young people. Another challenge is the question of religion. The Byzantine Basilica of Our Lady of Africa reminds us that we're still very much in the Mediterranean. Affectionately known as Madame Afrique, the church houses a dark-skinned Virgin Mary. Since the end of French rule and the evacuation of the French population, most of the churches have been converted to mosques. But Our Lady of Africa remains. It welcomes believers of every faith. It's even a symbol of tolerance, they say in Algiers. Algeria has around 15,000 mosques, including the third largest in the world. The Great Mosque of Algiers, facing the bay in the district of Mohammedia. Under construction by an army of Chinese workers, the Great Mosque will be a concrete giant. Its minaret will be 265 meters high, the highest in the world. Its prayer hall will hold 120,000 people. Islam is the state religion. It is a traditional Sunni Islam, practiced or at least respected by most of the population. The Islamist challenge of the 1990s failed to turn Algeria into a theocracy and finally petered out. Like the street names, the Martyrs Memorial overlooking Algiers commemorates those who died in the previous struggle, the War of Independence. Anywhere between 300,000 and 1.5 million people died in that war, most of them Algerian civilians. What began as a conflict between nationalist guerrillas and the French army became a civil war between the French and Algerian communities, and between supporters and opponents of independence within both communities. The history of Algeria seems to alternate between occupation and liberation. Along the coast from Algiers is the Royal Mausoleum of Mauritania, dating from 3 BC, the time of the Berber Kingdom. Below the mausoleum, the ruins of Tipaza reflect the influence of the Romans and the power of Byzantium. Then came the conquest of northwest Africa by Muslim Arabs in AD 670. The Arabs came on horseback, a memory that is still very much alive. The art of the fantasia lives on throughout Algeria. Coordinated displays of horsemanship in which riders demonstrate their ability and courage. A fantasia often accompanies weddings. But fundamentally, the horse is a symbol of strength. Families that own horses are more influential. A good horse represents down-to-earth good sense, as against the frivolity of the town. The fantasia inspired many Orientalist painters, as did Algeria itself. The road east from Algiers leads to Tizi Ouzou and Béjaïa, and then on to Annaba, ending at Alcala, on the border with Tunisia. Algeria is huge, 4 times the size of France. The coast road is a hillside route carved into the rock, an invitation to wander and admire. It's a holiday road, the way to seaside towns. It passes the remarkable Cap Carbon lighthouse. Built by the French in 1906, it is said to be the highest lighthouse in the world. Beachgoing is a relatively new custom for Muslim Algerians. In the 90s, the Islamists tried to stamp it out, along with most other leisure activities. But as with the satellite dishes, the Islamists couldn't make the ban stick. People returned to the beaches and brought their families with them. As on any beach around the world, boys go to flirt with girls. But the girls seldom respond. Big brothers are watching, and their parents are vigilant. Algerians also love their cars. Cars are useful to get around in such a large country, but they're also a second home and offer a degree of privacy. And everyone drives, both men and women. It is said that there is one car for every 4 people in Algeria, including babies and pensioners. The holiday road also leads to major ports. Here too, the sea is vital. For many years after independence, Algeria was short of almost everything. But consumption of imports is now soaring. Everything is imported: household appliances, furniture, luxury goods, clothing, food, and all these cars. Only heroes of the revolution were exempt from import taxes, so countless cars were bought by the ghosts of heroes. Industry is gradually starting up again. With iron from the Kunza mines and gas from Hassi Massaoud, Algeria produces steel at El Adjar, close to the Tunisian border. The steelworks was built by the Soviet Union 50 years ago. As it awaits modernization, it struggles to produce enough steel for the country's construction and machinery. This factory could ultimately make the fortune of the Annaba region. It was once the Mediterranean's leading mining area. Annaba really feels like a seaside town, all the more appealing for being old-fashioned. Its name comes from the fruit of the ziziphus tree, which grows throughout North Africa and the Middle East. In the days of French rule, when it was called Bonn, it was an industrial centre renowned for its metalwork.
شرع الله يا الحباب معكم يا جيراني.
As they do today, families came for the sea breeze and cafe terraces. People also came on pilgrimage to the church that overlooks the town. It is the Basilica of St. Augustine, the ancient theologian and doctor of the church, whose mother is said to have been a Berber. He was born in 354 AD in what is now Annaba. Between 2010 and 2013, the basilica was restored with the support of the Algerian and French governments and a gift from Benedict XVI. This Catholic church still has its place in Muslim Algeria. Today's El Kala is the former French fishing port of La Calle. The harbour is dominated by the former church of St. Cyprian, built in 1875 and now a cultural centre. Many Italian fishermen lived in La Calle and would come to the church to pray before putting to sea. They fished for sardines and above all for red coral, the red gold that made the town's name and fortune. The hillside cemetery facing the sea still has an Italian feeling to it. Times have changed, and the Mediterranean has changed too. Algerians still fish for sardines, but the fish are becoming scarce. The fishermen are calling for the reef to be protected. They say coral divers have affected the coral, and along with it, the shoals of fish that fed on the reef. Though Algeria faces the sea, it is not a maritime nation. But it does have a lot of local fishing. As elsewhere in the Mediterranean, fishermen complain about dwindling fish stocks, neighbours who plunder their resources, and a market that underpays them. As a result, the fishing ministry has produced a fishing plan, a program to farm bream, tuna and prawns that will make it possible to feed the country. That is an ambitious goal, for much of Algeria's food remains imported. Let's see what the land looks like. Close to El Kala is a humid zone, vast marshlands, the Gabes Senhaja area. It's a vital zone for the whole region. Water is precious, as is the life it supports. Gabes is a biosphere reserve, a World Heritage Site. It is the country's most productive natural area, with countless animal and plant species. The wealth of Annaba's agricultural lands comes from this humid zone. It grows green beans, fruit, and other vegetables. Everything is done by hand. Almost 11 million Algerians live from agriculture, a third of the population. We returned from El Khala to discover the agricultural lands known as the Tell, which stretch as far as Oran on the other side of the country. The Algerians grow oranges in the Matija today, thanks in part to the hard work of the French colonists who drained the land. Most of these fields were once unworkable. Today, around 1 million smallholders share this fertile land. Agriculture is a national priority. 41 million Algerians have to be fed. Today, per capita, Algeria is the world's biggest wheat importer. In a strange reversal of history, the grain comes from France, to a country that previously produced wheat for the French. Times have changed. Algeria has 4 times as many mouths to feed as it used to. But thanks to its oil revenue, Algeria avoided the bread riots that swept much of the Arab world. Before the French arrived, the ruling Ottomans and the local tribes shared the rights to farmland. 100 years of French colonization overturned all that. In Oran province, French settlers produced wine and grain on vast farms near Sidi Bel Abbes. The local tribesmen either had to leave or to become fellahs, poor peasants working for the French. The Oran region and the Mitidja rebelled. The land issue had sowed the seeds of resentment. The fellahs became fellagas, guerrilla fighters. With the coming of independence, the French left. Their estates were broken up. The land remained, growing wildflowers where there had been grapevines. How many people have wondered since whether it could all have been very different? On the Oran Plain, some of the grand houses still appear to be derelict after 50 years. The locals have built around the abandoned buildings. In some cases, little remains of the original property. It has been scavenged or left in ruins. So many people have worked this land. The Fellahs, the nomads, and the French. Generations of so-called settlers were born in Algeria without ever being Algerian, while in France, they were like foreigners. Their fate was much harsher than either side has recognized. Since the 1970s, oil has ruled in Algeria. The Arzou refinery in the Oran region is the third biggest in the country. It processes crude oil from Hassi Messaoud in the heart of the desert. Tankers transport Algerian oil around the world. It is the country's biggest resource by far. The Oran region is also the starting point for a gas pipeline that passes beneath the Mediterranean and surfaces at Almeria in Spain. In a way, it is fitting. Oran has always been the most Spanish city in Algeria. You can sail from Almeria to Oran in a single night. Andalusian sailors set out from Spain to take possession of this bay in 902 AD. It was they who founded the city of Oran. 600 years later, the Spanish built the fort and the district of Santa Cruz. Other voyages followed, and Oran became Spanish for 300 years. Today, it is the capital of Ray, a variety of indigenous folk music with its roots in the bars of Oran. Oran is only half the size of Algiers, but companies flock to it for meetings and conferences. It's not New York, but it is known as Little Paris.
Je suis fidèle نبغى نتخلص سكر ها لا ديرش عليهم Je suis fidèle نبغى نتخلص سكر ها لا ديرش عليهم ها كانوا غايرين راني معلقة ماني متزوج ماني مطلق وياه ها كل يوم شالقة متموش تطلع كورنيش هيا علي
Oran has a racy reputation by Algerian standards. It's a party town where people talk loudly and say outrageous things. The atmosphere is youth-oriented and dynamic. Business is booming. Part of the Spanish legacy is the bull ring in the center of town. It was once used for sacrificing sheep for the Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha. Oran was 60% European under the French. Yet in the 1830s, it was also the stronghold of the Emir Abdelkader as he led the resistance to the French conquest. As in Algiers, the streets have been renamed after heroes of Algerian nationalism. The Romano-Byzantine Sacred Heart Cathedral is now a library. For the former French population, Oran is one of the most nostalgic places. Seeing the old house, the old neighborhood, the familiar smells, remembering the names of streets and old friends. A Franco-Algerian community program has helped thousands of former residents to revisit their history and relive their memories. The city's historic square may strike them now as quite small, but the Opera House and the familiar buildings around it remain. The real heart of Oran today is probably its football stadiums. The whole of Algeria seems soccer crazy. West of Oran are the coastal villages of Hazouet and Benissaf. The colourful houses and churches are a modest legacy of history. The market halls in the town centre are still used today. Tlemcen was once the seat of power in the region. In the Middle Ages, the town was the capital of Central Northwest Africa. The Mansoura Mosque, founded in 1303 and now in ruins, is mentioned by the medieval historian Ibn Khaldun. Built around a central courtyard, it is typical of the Arab Andalusian style of northwest Africa. we leave the Oran Plain and head for Kabylia, Algeria's mountains, and Tizi Ouzou. After that, we will head south to Constantine, the Aurès Mountains, and the desert.